Hello, this is part 2 of Adventures in the Big Thicket. Shortcut to a dead end. That evening on the bayou, nightfall brought with it a blanket of sweat. The air was so thick you could almost slice it and serve it as a pound cake. It was a restless night for everyone, especially for Ham Hock and the Bean. Ham Hock was sprawled out on a bed of sweet gum leaves in a contorted pose, like how you wind up sometimes when you play Swing the Statue. Nuzzled next to him was the field mouse, curled up into a little fur ball. But Bean couldn't sleep, partly because of the heat, and partly because Ham Hock was snoring like a buzzsaw. The mouse rolled over and over, covering his ears with his hands. The rustling of leaves startled the wary bobcat. "Will you stay still?" he grumbled. "Will you stop snoring?" snapped the mouse. Both fluffed up their leaves under their heads, and before long were sleeping like babies after a bottle. But the crunching of footsteps jolted them awake. Thrashing upright, they glared at each other, madder than hornets in a glass jar. "I told you to sit still." "I told you to stop snoring." Crunch, crunch, crunch. They both froze. Suddenly, out of the bushes emerged an armadillo, sweating like a thatch roof in a thunderstorm. Ham Hock and Bean breathed a sigh of relief. "Phew," puffed the armadillo. "You fellows know which way to McGillicuddy's farm?" Crabby from such a sleepless night, Ham Hock was all over him like a cheap suit. "You got your nerve waking decent folk this hour of the night, stampeding through here like a herd of buffalo?" "Sorry, it's this armor in this heat, like wearing a cook stove on my back. I can't take it anymore. I'm looking for the shortest route to the ice house so I can cool off." Now the ice house he referred to was a low hut made of timber and covered over with dirt. Inside were stacks of block ice under a layer of sawdust that insulated them. Once a month, an ice vendor from the city came by to replenish what McGillicuddy had used. But none of the Big Thicket's animals dared go there, no matter how hot they got. First, because old man McGillicuddy's hound dog, which they had come to call Nose, everybody knew he couldn't sniff out a skunk in a rose garden. But still, when he got excited, he'd throw a conniption fit, running around and around in circles, and you never knew where he might stumble and end up by sheer accident. Second, no one dared a trip to the ice house because McGillicuddy had a double-barreled shotgun. And it had a way of getting your attention even if you had no respect for that lop-eared hound dog of his. But the third reason you didn't take a trip to the ice house under any circumstances was McGillicuddy's bull. He was 1,000 pounds of bad disposition. He pastured in a fenced-off meadow located between the thicket and the farm. That old bull could hear an ant sneeze at 100 yards and could see even better. So nothing came through his pasture without him knowing it. And if he didn't like it, you were likely to get a pair of horns imprinted on the backside of your lap. After the armadillo caught his breath, He unfolded a map. "If you could just steer me in the right direction, I'll be on my way." "The sooner you're on your way, the sooner we can get some sleep around here," grunted the bobcat. He and the mouse rubbed their eyes and moved closer to study the map. "That's it." Ham Hock marked the spot with a scratch of his paw. "That's where the ice house is." With that, the bleary-eyed bobcat yawned, fluffed up some more leaves, and bedded down for the night. "What's the fastest way to get there?" asked the armadillo. "Fastest way is through the cow pasture," answered Mouse. And the armadillo quickly folded up the map and started to waddle off. "But you don't want to go that way." The armadillo stopped and turned. "Why?" "Because McGillicuddy's bull doesn't take kindly to trespassers." "You think I'm some house pet or something? I've been making my way through cow pastures since before you were knee-high to a gnat. And I can make it through this one, bull or no bull." "If you go around the fence, it'll be a lot safer," urged the mouse. "How far out of my way will that take me?" "About a mile." "A mile? Huh? No thanks." "But it's safer." "I want a shortcut to the ice house, not a nature hike." "But the bull." "Let him go, Bean," said the bobcat. "Some just got to learn the hard way." The armadillo stomped off, crunch, 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 toward the ice house. The sound of the footsteps trailed off into the night. Soon Ham Hock was fast asleep, snoring and dreaming of smokehouse hams. But the bean was awake, worrying about the armadillo's fate. The bean scampered down the mouse path to catch up with him before he crossed the pasture. By the time the bean got there, he was panting something fierce. He ran down the fence line till he came across the armadillo's tracks. He looked around but saw no sight of the armored animal. But when the little mouse shinnied up the fence post, he squinted through the darkness and saw the armadillo's lumbering form making a headstrong path through the pasture. Then he looked up and saw the bull at the far end, suspiciously sniffing the air. Once the bull saw the grass parting in the pasture, he squared his shoulders, scratched the ground with his hoof, and snorted. The bull took off like a football player racing downfield, with his shoulder pads and helmet lowered. And when his horns made contact, the armadillo sailed out of that pasture like a football, drop-kicked through the goalpost and into the nickel